What's up, guys? Welcome to Film and TV Reviews. Today I'm reviewing The Umbrella Academy Season 1 on Netflix. This is a story about a group or a family or a team of superheroes who kind of fell out over the years and now they're gathering back together when their adoptive father has passed away. So, right off the bat, I like this show. I think it's pretty good. It does have problems, it's not perfect, but it's definitely worth checking out, particularly if you like the superhero genre, if you particularly want to see a superhero story that tries to be a little different from what's came before. It reminded me a bit of Watchmen mixed with X-Men and Fantastic Four, but rather than them being all getting on and being nice and friendly with each other, these people, in many ways, they hate each other. So that's one of the most interesting parts of this, is that this is a team that does not like each other. So one of the things I really liked about the story is that it does try to subvert your expectations. There are twists and turns, there are surprises. Towards the end, I think there's a couple that are very predictable, and I think it does fall into typical superhero genre tropes towards the end as well, which is a little disappointing. But it's still a very enjoyable story, told over 10 episodes. The problem is that these 10 episodes are, particularly in the first half of the season, they're long. They're really pushing like the hour-long mark, whereas the later ones are only like 45-50 minutes. This is a problem because sometimes the pacing can be a little on the slow side. It can become a little padded out in places. Towards the middle, for example, there's one or two episodes that are way longer than they need to be. The pacing becomes a little sluggish and slow, and it's really hard to maintain your interest during that middle period. But the first few episodes and the last few episodes are great. One of the reasons why the middle episodes suffer, I think, is because there are some side stories that don't quite need as much attention. The story focusing on the characters of Cha-Cha and Hazel, for example. Perfectly fine story. I like their characters, I like the actors. Perfectly fine, but just not necessary. We don't need to be seeing them quite as much as we do, especially when half the time this season they're not really doing much of anything. So to talk about the characters, this is going to be the big selling point for this show. It is a character-focused superhero genre show, and the characters are really interesting, really likable. Ellen Page is Vanya, the main character, arguably, of the show. She's brilliant. Ellen Page is a really good actress, and towards the end of the season, you really find out why she's such a good actress, because she's in a whole other league compared to most of the other actors and actresses on this show, and it shows towards the end. Otherwise, you've got number 5, who's a 50-odd-year-old man trapped inside the body of a 13-year-old. You've got Tom Hopper, who's playing this big guy. I'm not going to say too much about it because it is getting into spoiler territory, but he's a big guy with strong powers. And you've also got Klaus, who's way more eccentric and quirky compared to all the other characters. A lot of people will probably like his character a lot. Some might find him a bit annoying. Personally, I like them. But yeah, all these characters are really interesting, really likable. They've all got flaws. They've all got something that makes them relatable. The one little negative about it is the villains. The villains are a little predictable, a little by the book villainish. So for example, a villain is introduced and right away you know that's a villain. You know exactly what their plan is, you know exactly what's going to happen. And then later on the villains are a little lacking in interest. But otherwise, great story, great characters. And again, this isn't to say the villains are bad, they're just not as interesting as everyone else in the show. So in terms of production, this is a really well-made show. It has got the pacing problems, it has got the momentum problems towards the middle, and the episodes are a little long. Those are kind of the only big problems. The other one is the tone. The tone, it goes from being depressing and sad to cheerful and moody and happy. It really jumps around, plays with tone in different ways. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a really weird mishmash, and it can make some episodes that feel a little jumbled and odd. Otherwise, there's great sets. The actual Umbrella Academy itself is really well envisioned. I like that set a lot. There's a lot of mood lighting. It is a pretty dark and gloomy, but not like unrealistically so. It's kind of noirish in a way. and the mood lighting does a really good job of setting the tone and the mood of the scenes. This soundtrack is probably one of the best things about this show. There's a lot of really cool, interesting songs being used. At times, there's an argument to be made that it's actually a musical, because they are introducing these big soundtracks. You all listen to almost the entire songs, and the actors are responding to these songs and engaging with these songs and doing things in beat and in time with these songs. It's really well done, and it really provides an uplifting atmosphere. So speaking of the action briefly, the action's good. I don't think it's outstanding, I don't think it's anything special, but it's there. I wouldn't necessarily say this is an action show. If you're wanting to see huge fight scenes like in Daredevil or The Punisher or whatever, this kind of isn't it. There's only a couple of action scenes throughout the whole season, but they are good. The special effects for this are really quite good for a TV show. There's the character of Pogo, I think he's called, who is basically a chimpanzee in a suit, and really well done. Like, honestly, he looks like he could be ripped right from the recent Planet of the Apes films. Maybe not the latest one, but the earlier ones. And yeah, really well done, good for a TV show, really surprising. Towards the end, there are some questionable elements of CGI. I'm not going to go into spoilers just yet, but yeah, the CGI isn't always great, but when it's meant to be with Pogo, because he is such a central character in the show, it works really well. But ultimately, this show is just full of character, style, and charm, and a lot of that comes across from the production side of things. The writing is really good, the characters are really good, the story's really interesting, and I do recommend this show. I can't wait to see Season 2. I'm assuming it will get a Season 2 because I've seen a lot of people are liking this. So that's my impression and review of The Umbrella Academy Season 1. Go check it out on Netflix. I am going to go into spoilers now, so watch it on Netflix, then come back and watch the rest of this review. In the meantime, if you're going to leave, subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave your comments and feedback down below, letting me know what you thought of The Umbrella Academy. Why am I struggling to say The Umbrella Academy so much? I don't know. But I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton. Any support will really, really be appreciated. But it's time to go into full spoilers. So full spoilers now. You have been warned. Watch The Umbrella Academy if you haven't already. So let's talk about Vanya. Vanya is the character played by Ellen Page. Really interesting character. And the problem I have with her character, and it's a minor one really, is that right from the word go, I knew she would have superpowers. I knew she would end up being the villain. And I knew the team would end up having to try and talk her out of being the villain, and she'd be the one that ended up causing the apocalypse. And maybe I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to show off or whatever, but it was very predictable for me. And it's one area where I think the story really falls into typical, fairly generic superhero genre tropes. In relation to this, Vanya's boyfriend, who was also another villain, right from the word go I knew he was a villain, right from the word go I knew he was manipulating her. And the show tries to make you think that's not what's happening, but I still predicted it. Now, where the surprise came is that I didn't think he'd die before the end. I didn't think Vanya would kill him before the end. And in like the final episode before the final episode, so the penultimate episode, episode 9, there are some surprises. I loved the scene between Vanya and her sister when Vanya all of a sudden just slits her sister's throat. I thought that was a really well done thing, really surprising and shocking moment. A little disappointing that they took it away straight away and her sister survived. The most annoying thing about this is that the whole point of this show, in my opinion, was that Vanya had been rejected by her siblings all her life. She had been treated poorly by her siblings and family all her life because she didn't have superpowers. Now, all of a sudden, she's got the superpowers. Throughout this entire season, the whole point of this is to accept each other for the way they are, and because you are adopted siblings, you should be getting along. None of the characters learn from this mistake by the end of the season, and instead, as soon as they find out Vanya has superpowers, instead of being all supportive of her, instead of comforting her and trying to help her, no, their first thing is to lock her up and to treat her as if she's a bad person. Now, in fairness, she did slit her sister's throat, but in a fit of rage, and it seems her sister doesn't seem to have much of a problem with that. So, Why are they holding a grudge so much? Why haven't they learned from anything? I'm sure this is going to be an overarching theme or story throughout the next few seasons or whatever, but I just felt like a missed opportunity at this point, and it ended things like a little disappointing for me because it made me dislike the whole other group of characters in this a little bit more. And one other nagging thing is that these are superheroes. Yep, they were superheroes when they were children. They're not superheroes anymore, really, although they do still have the powers. But it's made very apparent and very clear that these are famous individuals. They were in the press, they were on TV, they were doing all these big superhero acts. And yeah, they've grown up, they've changed appearance a little bit, but nobody recognizes them, nobody knows them, nobody pays them any attention. You've got this guy who's walking around and he looks like a 7-foot gorilla. He looks like a 7-foot gorilla, and no one really pays him much attention. It just seems a little odd how these larger-than-life characters are living amongst the normal world. They were once celebrities, they were once very well known, and now all of a sudden nobody even acknowledges them. Because I'd like to think if there were superheroes in real life, I'd know who they were and I'd recognize them if I saw them walking down the street. But that's my review and impression of The Umbrella Academy Season 1. A few little problems here and there, but it is a really good, really likable, quirky, fun show. And I do recommend it if you're a fan of the superhero genre. So, again, subscribe to my channel, all the rigmarole, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _Grant Burton. But that's all I've got for this week, so thanks for watching.